What's up, everybody? This is Josh coming to you with another episode of the Affiliate Marketing Show. Please be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to stay up to date on all the latest affiliate marketing news, tips, and trends. Josh from OfferVault.com, the industry's largest aggregator of all things affiliate marketing, whether you're looking for networks, affiliate programs, offers, and more, OfferVault.com has you covered. And guys, guess what? This episode is brought to you by none other than ClickDealer, powered by DMS. ClickDealer is your ultimate performance marketing solution, catering to publishers, advertisers, and agencies around the world with a comprehensive range of advertising services. They tailor to any specific set of KPIs for their clients. They've been a game changer in the performance marketing industry since 2012, partnering with over 1,000 active advertisers across more than 40 verticals. Whether it's lead gen, pay-per-call, financial, e-commerce, health and beauty, dating, mobile downloads, and more, ClickDealer has you covered. But that's not all, guys. You know we take care of our sponsors on the show. One of the standout features of ClickDealer is their unique traffic distribution algorithm. With their smart link, you can monetize your entire dating inventory with just one link. Plus, they offer access to an extensive portfolio of direct offers and exclusives. Lastly, ClickDealer isn't just about technology. They provide world-class online solutions for business growth through their dedicated media buying teams, cutting-edge technology, and in-house platform. They've truly set the bar high in the performance marketing industry. If you don't know about ClickDealer, you guys need to check them out. So what are you waiting for? Sign up now through the link in the description and elevate your marketing game with ClickDealer. We also have, back from a week of absence, Mr. Pay-Per-Call Adam Young, as well as the industry legend Harrison Gevirtz, and my new good friend, who I just learned was my neighbor in New York about 8 years ago and didn't even know it, Rory Flynn, founder of Systematic.ai, a company focused on operationalizing common AI tools for businesses and marketing teams. Rory, what's up, man? Thanks for joining the podcast today. How you doing?
Yeah, dude. No, it's awesome. I appreciate you guys having me on. This is love the community, love the space, love this channel. So it's awesome to be here.
Yeah,
Hey,
Harris.
before we get started, I just wanted to throw a shout out to ClickDealer and the DMS crew. I had no idea they sponsored the pod, but we are big fans of ClickDealer, which was acquired by DMS, and we're also huge fans of DMS. So two great companies there. Really appreciate your support, guys. Amazing team at both places, and I'm really excited to have them involved.
Big shout out to ClickDealer. Harrison, before you hopped on, me and Rory were talking about how I lived in Murray Hill. He lived in Murray Hill, same exact time, about 2 blocks away. I mentioned that, Rory, because Harrison also lived in New York for a time. Where were you at again, Harrison?
I was in Chelsea.
All right.
I was young and hip, 25th and 7th. So yeah, not too
Wow.
far.
All right. There's no way we didn't stumble drunk by each other at one point. There's no way. We were on
You
the same
never know,
street,
right?
you know. Yeah, it's
Oh,
always
you lived. Wow.
no, Josh and we apparently lived, I don't know, 3 buildings away from each other.
Yeah,
So
wow.
this was a crazy time back then. Of course, you starter package is Murray Hill. You get in there, you pay your dues, and then you can move on in life, especially in New York.
So, Rory, I'm really excited to have you on the show. We haven't really dove into the AI conversation in a while. You know, we kind of hit it hard when ChatGPT and Google Bard were really hitting this space about a year ago, or at least that's kind of when became more hip to it. So I'm curious, quick answer, like how did you kind of get involved in the AI space and, kind of transition into what Systematic.ai is and how you guys kind of play a role in that sector?
Totally, man. Like quick and short answer was like, at the time we were running an agency and the agency was floundering. I mean, that was basically it. We were mostly focused in email marketing and paid media. And at the time we just basically had too many clients and too little employees. And, at that time we were working on razor thin margins. Things were just not going well. So luckily, like we were given the gift of tools like Midjourney and ChatGPT that we just were like, screw it. We got to go all in. Like there's no other way, or else we're going to basically either lose a bunch more clients or it's just going to be, the end of the road for us. So it was kind of like a sink or swim moment. And luckily enough, this stuff just progressed to the point where it was good enough for us to utilize, and clients were, really happy with it. And also it just started to make us more money. So it wasn't necessarily like the plan, but it was a necessity at the time. And, luckily it worked out.
So just so I'm on the same page, can you kind of do a elevator pitch of what Systematic.ai actually does and how you guys help clients in the space?
Yeah, totally. So, I mean, it's pretty simple in terms of what we do. Like basically, it's an operational AI company or at least that's just what I call it. Basically, we look into businesses, we find holes in their operations, and then we plug them with AI tools. So I think a lot of people, in your own organizations, right? Things are inefficient. I have inefficiencies. Everyone has inefficiencies. We all we all hate doing tasks that we probably have on our plate. How do we just either one, automate that, or two, utilize the tools to get from point A to point B quicker?
Cool. Yeah, I don't know if you would agree with this, but it kind of leads to my next question here. I was going to ask you like, how do you feel AI has developed over the past 12 months, and then we'll kind of transition into where you think it's going. But I it's no secret. I mention it all the time. I use ChatGPT to write my sponsor reads. Sometimes I tell it to do it in the voice of a pirate. Sometimes I keep it professional like today. But I don't know if they recently made an update, but something happened when I typed in my prompt yesterday that hasn't happened before. So I said like, write me a prompt about Click Dealer. Here's the points I want to
I'm so
include.
sorry, sirs. I just apologize.
What was that? I think Harrison's having some technical difficulties. I said all this stuff about Click Dealer, and then ChatGPT replied, and it hasn't done this. Usually, just gives you the prompt right away. It said, "Are you looking for the sponsor read to be in a specific style, like a podcast read or a radio ad?" And I'm like, "A podcast read." So then it says, "Absolutely. Here's a podcast style sponsor read for Click Dealer." Gave me the prompt, and then ended it with, "I hope this works for your podcast." So do you feel like is it like, are we not far away from this becoming like a lot more human and less robotic, or do you feel like we still have a lot of time left?
Well, I think it can already get really human right now. I think it depends on how you're utilizing the tools, which one you're utilizing. I mean, like ChatGPT, you think about it as like, or at least I like to say it's like the Walmart of AI right now. Like it's good. It can do a lot of things. It has everything. But if you get into these more open source models and really down deep into some of these more, custom trained models, you can get really specific and you'd never know that it was from, a robot. It depends on what the data set's trained on, not to get too technical. But I mean, if you had, let's just say, 100 ad reads that you've written before in the past, and you uploaded that into its own custom, LLM, or you trained it on that data alone, it would come out like that every single time, or at least in your style. So it's a little bit different. Right now, I would say it's super powerful. We work with billion-dollar brands that are utilizing it, and no one would know. And I think that's the way we got to keep it. But at the same time, like, where does this go in 12 months? I have no idea. It's crazy. Honestly, I've never seen a dev schedule like this before. Apple, we're used to like this, we get a new operating system every year. Sick. Like, oh, there's new colors. This stuff is like every 2 weeks, it's something mind blowing. So the pace of development is insane. And it's like really hard to kind of project. But that's why it's tough to get tied to one tool also, because as soon as one tool starts, crushing it, something like ChatGPT, Claude comes out and it beats it in the rankings, or Anthropic comes and releases a new model and has, better conversational or better natural language skills. Same thing on the video side, or on the image generation side. It's like there's a new update every 2 weeks, and then from there, just mind blowing feature after mind blowing feature. But it's all useful. I think that's where a lot of this goes, though. It's like, doesn't have to be utilized for every single thing, and basically, and that's kind of my whole ethos with Systematic. It doesn't have to be finished product that comes out of AI. It can be little things within the business. It can be little tasks within a whole workflow that can be done with that to help. So,
What
yeah,
are
man,
some examples? What are some examples of what are the most popular tasks that your customers are using your software to do?
So a lot of times I'm working with creative agencies for storyboarding, right? Like it's something that if you think about time it takes to create a storyboard, whether that's for a television spot or that's for a, meta ad, whatever that might be. Now you're looking at, depending on again, what the format is. But again, if you need to have a 30, 40 image storyboard, and that's going to take your team, let's call it 48 hours to a week to produce, and you're doing, I don't know, anywhere from 20 to 30 of those each week. how do we take that 24-hour plus process and trim it into 1 hour, right? Like that's kind of where we're looking, so we can be more operationally efficient with these things, but also again tell the story better. So sometimes it's easier to tell a story when, especially you think of like if you were pitching like a movie, right, and you had a storyboard that was done in the cinematic style of the director that you wanted to basically pitch to. You can tell that story a lot better to the studio than if you just come in with a bunch of sketch drawings. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with sketch drawings or storyboarding in that fashion. It's just like, again, it's potentially a new way to sell. It's a new way to service clients. It's just, it's been interesting because you can build a better picture in their mind too, to get stuff approved faster, or, just make your lives less, less difficult, especially in the agency world.
So when it comes to like the marketing and operations, you mentioned like creatives and storyboarding and stuff, but what do you see being some of like the most beneficial uses of technology like this when it comes to like the financials or the client experience, communication and stuff like that?
Yeah, so you know what, this was kind of like a longer term study, if you want to call it that. But once we started using it, like our client communications back in my old agency, when we were, like I said, we're basically working in the realm of email marketing and paid media. That was kind of our lane. But over the course of time, because we were getting things done more efficiently, our team was not stacked with just basically catching up on everything and not being behind all the time. So it opened up time over the course of, where those hidden hours go when you're just wasting it on doing like remedial tasks. Those ended up being more strategy focused and client focused. So we had better communication because we weren't focused on just getting things out the door. Think about email, right? Like just even putting it on the email side, we had 90 clients and we typically do around 10 emails for them a month. Like that was just on the campaign side, not even talking about automations. But 90 times 10, we have 900 emails to get out the door. We were averaging around 3.4 revisions per email. So we're doing like 2,700 plus emails a month with 5 designers. Just not sustainable. Just not going to work. And I was like, how do we trim that? How do we isolate that number, that 3.7 revisions, and take it down? So it became like a whole big process to go from where does this whole client journey start? Like where is the chink in the armor that's getting us to 3.4 rounds of revisions? We were able to isolate different variables within kind of the strategy portion of it and our account managers, and where that was going to the copywriters and where that was going to the designers. Then from there, really just kind of took it in essentially upon us to find the tools to go fix those things, make it faster, make it more clear. And, we trimmed that down to 1.7 rounds of revisions. So, basically halved it, in a sense that made our team way better. And essentially, like I said, that gave them more time to work on strategy and talking to clients. So from an agency perspective, that's why it made a lot of sense. From an individual perspective, it definitely can help, especially, you have the manpower now with these tools.
So what are some of like I'm sure it's a loaded question, but I'm just curious, like selfishly, what are some of like the ways you were able to trim that number down? Like what services are you using? What prompts are you using? What automations are you using? Like actual, tangible things people watching this can apply to their own businesses.
Totally. So like I can work backwards from where it started to where it got to, which is basically, when I was interviewing our clients as to why they were leaving, I was like very concerned because again, I'm losing money too. So I'm not really happy about that. But they were like, oh, it's the design. The design of the emails is really like, pissing us off. Okay, why? They're like, the assets are the same every time. I'm like, well, basically you're giving us your branded assets, your product shots, things like that. I was working in the e-com space, right? So I'm like, we don't have a photography team. All we have is what you have to work with. And then again, from there, it's like, how many times can you doctor up an image in Photoshop or Figma to like tell a different story? If you're sending 10 emails a month over the course of a couple months, plus the automations, like you really run through assets if brands don't have them. So it was like, all right, how do we use, like, let's see what we can do. So we started utilizing Midjourney, which was really like at the time, like, I don't know, 18 months ago, like the perfect tool for the format. An email, like it was, at that point it outputted at 1024 pixels by 1024 pixels, just meaning it's small. And there was no real upscalers at the time. So email, considering that majority of it's mobile, right? Same as Meta, same as, any of the other platforms, it just fit. And also it had a short like lifespan. typically emails in the promotion inbox, you have about like an 8-hour lifespan. So it wasn't like someone was going to go and like really nitpick these images and say like, that's AI. Like this is before a lot of people knew it. But again, like, for example, we had a salad dressing company, right? There's only so many times you can put a picture of a product shot of a freaking salad dressing bottle in email and try to get someone to buy it. Typically email's a medium. We just need them to click and get through to the next page so they can purchase. So, we utilized Midjourney there to tell a story. So if it was, we're highlighting a key benefit or a, ingredient, it was, avocado oil. Great. The brand doesn't have any assets of avocado oil. We can generate that. We can make it look a little bit more visually appealing than just like a static product shot. And then, rip it in the email, make sense, and then go from there. So, I mean, that was one use case that kind of translated over into the paid media side, where we were able to kind of take assets and then reverse engineer them. So like this sounds a little bit technical and crazy, but it's not overly complicated once you think about it. But we take something like a brand asset or a lifestyle photo, we essentially take it into building blocks, if you want to call it that, like visual building blocks, like what makes up a photo. Colors, your composition, your kind of the aesthetic look and feel with the visual signature. So we take that and we'll be able to rebuild out a ton of images. So if we have like one image of like, let's just call it a Red Bull race car, right? Like we could break that image down into like its subsequent parts and then rebuild out images of a Red Bull, motorcycle, of a Red Bull dirt bike, of a Red Bull, skier. So there's a way for us to take one asset, turn it into 1,000. So we don't always have to rely on our clients for this stuff, and we could test different things and we could just be faster. So that was like that was the thing that started to churn it. We started getting better feedback. That was, there's still had the client churn problem, which I'm sure, a lot of people have dealt with before in the past, but that really kind of like, we started backing it up and it was like, oh, the copy is where we're having problems now. Why is the copy having problems? Oh, because the account managers aren't necessarily getting the right information from the clients and they don't have time to write a proper strategy or a copy brief for our copywriters. All right. So like when we isolated that, it was like, let's take, this is before ChatGPT could even read a spreadsheet. We had to take raw data and throw it in there. But essentially the first time I just exported a CSV file from Klaviyo and was like, okay, let's see what we got here. It's open rates, click-through rates, subject lines, things like that, topic preview, everything. Threw it in there, just raw numbers, no, like just CSV, copied and pasted. And I was like, can you read this? And it was like, yes, I can read this. Sick, dude. Can you tell me like some common patterns that you're seeing? And it spit out right away. It was like, best performing emails are on Tuesday between the hours of XYZ, typically subject lines with these words in it or this, character count, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, that's not bad. Can you write me like a 30-day content calendar from this? Like basically guidelines, give me the headline, subject line, dates, times, whatever. I was like, no way. Like really, come on. And it was 70% there. I would say, of course, there's your trash that's in there, but like 70% of it was solid. So again, we took a basically 3-4 hour process for our account managers. They were doing that for 10 clients a month. So you're thinking about 40 hours a week. That's 1 week of their work is just writing a content calendar and strategy for the next month. So we trimmed that down to minutes. So from there, we basically freed up a week of their time. So it was like, that's where it started to be, all right, where else do we do this? Like onboarding, like let's get into onboarding. Let's get into sales presentations. Let's get it into everything. So it started to become like this whole churning system. But, I would say it started with individual tools before it got to automation or anything like that. But I know that was a really—
Are there any tasks that you've tried to use AI, maybe it's your software or just the other standard kind of, platforms out there that you were like, it's not there yet, or that you would say took like some significant tweaking to do what you wanted it to do?
Yeah, ChatGPT was there for a while, I would say. It was really hard to get it in the tone that you wanted it. I don't know if you guys have experienced that, but like,
you did. I said read a thing as a pirate, and I was a pirate for those 2 minutes, straight up.
We almost ended the whole podcast after that. Yeah.
It's good. It's good with stuff like that, right? Like when it's like, write like something that has a lot of data on, right?
Right.
You can probably do that. But But when I'm uploading like my tone, let's just say I wanted to reproduce something on social, like here's 100 of my tweets. Can you write a tweet like me? It was really hard to get that. I don't know, a couple months ago. It's much better now, especially with the custom GPT function. But we started playing around with that. Again, basically the idea with all this stuff, which is where does it break? Like how far can we push it until it can't answer a question for us? So, we used to test this stuff. I used to talk to my team, like how weird can we get with the tools? Like how weird? So, we'd build custom GPTs and different personalities and then kind of run a decision matrix through it. So it's like, oh, if we want to build this crazy strategy, let's have the perspective of a CEO, a CMO, a CFO, and like a CTO. And then we'd run the same question through all four, and then we'd have them interact with each other. So like, I was like, okay, what else can we do with that? Can we build agents essentially for each step of this process? Can we build a copywriting agent? Can we build a mid-journey prompter? Can we build, XYZ? So it was just in a way to try, like, again, starting with these individual tools and tasks, like we found little, time savings there and productivity savings. Then it was like, can we automate this? Can we make it better? Can we basically take our brain and put it into the machine? So it was, I would say ChatGPT was one of them. Sorry for the long answer on that, but ChatGPT.
No, I wanted a long answer. That was great, man.
Yeah,
I'm curious. I mean,
definitely.
AI is great, right? AI is great. We know that. But on the flip side, like for you personally, as well as for seeing other people and how they use it, what are kind of like the biggest mistakes or the biggest incorrect ways you see people using it, if there are any? Like, are there any negatives that you've seen in terms of its use within our space or any space for that matter?
Totally. I mean, it's pretty obvious to me, and maybe it's because I'm in a bubble. I'll be candid, because I see it, I read it, I see it, I do it all the time. Like, generic ChatGPT copy when you see it. Like, it's very clear as day to me.
Well,
The
now they
same.
have stuff. They have stuff that you can like plug it into too, right? Like I know,
Yeah,
like on college campuses, it's like a big problem with like papers and shit, and teachers will plug it into something, and it'll say like what the likelihood is that it was original or something like that.
yeah. Well, that too, but also you'll see the same language like repeating itself. It's like, let's delve into the XYZ and transformative nature of whatever. It tries to talk like someone who's smart that doesn't know what they're talking about. Or sorry, someone who doesn't know what they're talking about trying to act smart. Like that's how it sounds
So
most
it
of the time.
sounds like me, is what you're saying.
I, all of us probably. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's but it's that being said, that was where I see people getting into trouble because you'll see a lot of this shit on social, and it's like really it bugs the hell out of me, to be honest, which is the people that just hawk out there like here's 50 prompts for marketing, 50 prompts for writing emails, whatever. You open the prompt and it's like write a marketing email for a brand, and like that's it, and the shit comes out and everyone's like, oh my God, it works. That stuff, you're just using generic crap, right? It's like using pre-made templates on ads from Canva. Like it's sometimes that stuff doesn't work because it's obvious and it's trash. Being candid, but you get it to a point where you can instruct it way better. You can be way more detailed than you think with this stuff and give it way more direction. It's always, it has to give you an answer, right? ChatGPT has to give you an answer. So it's only as good as question it or give it instructions. But most of the time people are trying to use it, I think now outside of like their zone of genius. But if you're already, if you're a media buyer and you know how to write ad copy and you know exactly what you want and you know exactly what works and you have data, plugging all this stuff in there and giving it more context, it's going to be able to write better for you. That to me, it's always just context, examples, all that stuff. Like you're training a new employee.
Yeah, aside from like saying just go to chatgpt.com, like how can companies really start to incorporate AI in their business that haven't really dove into it yet? I mean, like it's such an open question with a loaded answer, but like where should they focus the resources that come with AI? I guess is a better way to put it.
It's tough. I would say like this is probably the biggest thing I've seen now. 18 months ago, 12 months ago, like it was still a little bit fringe, if you want to call it that. Like companies were like, there was the radicals who were just like, I'm all in. And then there was the big companies that were like, we'll see how this plays out, and we'll get on it later. But people who are trying to get in now, they feel overwhelmed because there's so much. and it's like I said, developing at a pace that's insane. So I mean, I do small. When I instruct these bigger companies, I'm like, it's small tasks, man. Like really small to get introduced to it. Like my Fireflies, AI tool in here before. It's a call recorder. You want to talk about a sales team. You want to talk about someone who's on the phone a lot with clients, whatever. We did this in the agency too. Like our account managers just on too many calls. You think about something like, I'm very metrics oriented, if you guys can't tell, but they basically, yeah, right. This is the dumbest thing ever to me. I never understood this. People take notes on pen and paper, but then when you have to go from pen and paper to the computer to put it in a CRM or to take your notes into the computer, that takes, I don't know, 10 minutes. If you're doing 10 calls, 20 calls a week, it's 20 minutes or 200 minutes a week, 800 minutes a month, 9,600 minutes a year. Pointless. To me, that's pointless. You can build an automation from Fireflies to either, ChatGPT to synthesize the notes and then build it out from there. You can build it just straight into your CRM. So you have an entire transcript of the entire call, summarized key points, key dates, questions, everything like that. So it's something as simple as that can save a person 20 minutes each call, which, again, it compounds. It's not something that looks really sexy under a microscope, but over the long term, I haven't taken notes in 2 years now. It's the best thing ever. So it's little things, finding little holes and little entry points like that, get people adapted. They see it's good. They like, that helps. What else can help? That's typically how the process went with us when we started integrating it.
So what do you think like are the biggest risks or threats to the affiliate marketing industry or just human civilization with like the pace that this technology is developing? Like, I just Googled Will Smith robot movie because I couldn't remember the name of it, right? I Robot. But like, I don't know if that's very far away, if ever, right? But like in terms of like today and our life today and how we operate, especially in the marketing world, like are there any risks or threats that come to your mind, or all of it is really beneficial? It's more on the user and how they apply it.
I think there's a balancing act, to be quite honest, like especially on the affiliate side, a lot of it is asset creation, right? It's just you're creating assets, you're creating content consistently. It has to be either one for, paid, you're doing SEO, whatever it might be. So you just always need new stuff. And I think that's where this could help because traditionally you're at the bay of whatever you have and, you're just trying to produce, right? So yeah, it's something like taking a brand image and turning it into 1,000 images. That could really help. But also at the same time, you have to be wary of copyright. So copyright, especially on the image side, is a lot harder to navigate because it is so loose and every country has different laws and regulations around it now. But again, the other thing that, especially in the US, right, and I don't know if this matters to everyone or anyone, again, anything that's fully produced by AI 100% cannot be copyrighted. So again, I don't know if someone's going to go and steal your ads or your blog posts verbatim, but again, if they do, you have nothing to do. You can't do anything about it. So it's, again, there's definitely a balancing act. I look at it as, where's your risk tolerance at with it? Because again, the copyright stuff, I had the reason that we in Midjourney, unfortunately, I had an incident. I was a graphic designer in a previous life. I used an image from a stock website that I thought was licensable, which everything else on the stock site was, and it was not. So I got sued. And when the lawyer hit me up, and I was like, "How did you find this?" He was like, "I reverse image searched it." I'm like, "Well, this came in handy later because when we're doing client work, we're reverse image searching everything to make sure it doesn't, have some sort of application somewhere else." So that was kind of, there's definitely some risks. If you want to go all tinfoil hat on this stuff too, we can go down that path because there is that scary side of it where personally I don't like, this might be topical, whatever. I don't like a ChatGPT integration with Apple. I don't like it at all. I don't want it on my phone. I don't want, the whole AI database or brain essentially being trained on my emails, my text, my photo library, my credit card purchases, my location service.
That's already happening.
I know.
So it's
consistent.
completely irrelevant at this point. I mean, Google has been reading our email for email targeted advertising for hell, I don't even know, what, a decade more
Yeah.
at this point. Facebook is ingesting every single click to train their models. People are basically these companies are already mining whatever data that you have to build their models. It may be anonymized, but in the end, it becomes really powerful on an individual basis, which makes it kind of scary. I think, Josh, your point about iRobot, and by the way, I think everyone should go rewatch this movie if you want to know what's going to happen with things like the Tesla Optimus bot here pretty soon. Like in iRobot, which was, I think it was 2002 or maybe even earlier, they had self-driving cars, and people freaked out when Will Smith changed it from self-driving to manual driving. His wrist was artificially created and robotic that was integrated with your with his arm, which was pretty incredible, and he had mental control over it, a la Neuralink. And then all these robots were running around basically serving humans. And if you look at the Optimus bot, I mean, the question I believe is not how many robots you're, or not if you're going to have a robot, but how many robots are you going to have? And I think that it's kind of funny that like this movie is predicted all of Elon's craziness, but the reality is all those things are coming together. And I think what people fail to realize is that there are already like 6 million plus robots collecting visual data to interact with the world right now. And those are all the Tesla cars. Each Tesla car has, I think, up to 8 or more cameras on it, other sensor data. And they are doing all their machine learning on visuals as opposed to text or sensor data. And so they have essentially the largest repository of visual real world data combined with the biggest AI cluster to process visual data and all the proprietary algorithms to go along with it. So it's not crazy to think that the Optimus bot is going to be able to interact with the real world, because they actually they have a quantum leap against basically any other company when it comes to data scale and the ability to make the models. They also have the most powerful AI chips in the world that are better than the NVIDIA's, the new Dojo cluster that they're building. So I don't really think it's going to be that far off, Josh. And by the way, they're doing the Robotaxi unveil next month on the 8th. And so if they're going to unveil Robotaxi, that means them cars are going to drive themselves, and sooner or later I'm going to have a small army of Optimus robots serving me.
It's going to be sold out.
We are big fans of Optimus. When it is available, we will be buyers.
Yes.
Maybe we'll have an Optimus on the podcast as a guest.
Optimus podcast host sounds good. I wonder if their reads for sponsors will be better.
I mean, it'll probably be on every single pod. For instance, I may have one named Jeeves. Jeeves, can you go grab me a bottle of water, please? Like every single pod.
I like it. Rory, I know you do a lot of public speaking at various conferences as well. This is kind of something I like to revisit on the show every once in a while. What's your approach when it comes to speaking in front of crowds and audiences like that? What's the message in particular you're trying to get across? Is it really about AI or the use of AI, or just kind of lifestyle and success? How do you kind of approach opportunities to speak like that?
Actionable. I mean, that's really it. I never, I hadn't spoken on stage ever until last year, and Affiliate World put me up in front of, I don't know, 1,000 people, and I was like, guys, I just started doing AI like 7 months ago. You have people that have been doing this stuff their whole career. Like, I'm going to tank and fail. They're like, no, you're going on the main stage. I was like, okay, your funeral when I suck. But I guess at the time it was really new, so people were interested in what we were doing. But I try to take an actionable approach to it, man. Like, what can I give people to go do so they'll get some results from it, and that'll either, one, get them interested to do more, or two, just be like, oh, I can see this a different way. Because luckily for me, I create a lot of content for places like LinkedIn, of all spaces. I have to be like super technically specific on there. I can't like beat around the bush, so I go super into detail. So I have all this material. So whenever it's time to go speak, I just I have a lot of stuff backed up that I can rip in there. And it's, like I said, there is some I try to give a little bit of landscape of, how to do the things currently now that aren't so over the top, keep it digestible, because I know some of the stuff sounds like, Chinese or like hieroglyphics to some people when they read it. But, it's number one, that, and then number two, like what you can expect moving forward. Because there's things coming right now that are, I'd say, going to change just about everything. So, I mean, you look at something like, if I could go off on a little tangent for a moment here, someone asked me a couple months ago, they're like, do you think you could basically take one UGC video and change the character or like change the voice? I'm like, oh yeah, you can do that. So you can, with AI now, you could take a video of myself, let's just say I'm talking, right? Like head moving back and forth, my lips, my eyes, my eyebrows, whatever. I can take that, use it as like a reference video, and then take another image. Let's just say it's of Leonardo DiCaprio, put that side by side, and then transfer my mannerisms to his face. So you can do that easy now. And then also, again, if you want to change the voice, you can take a recording of my voice, change it. You can use tools like 11 Labs, which a lot of people utilize for, this content stuff. So, and also go and change the language. So I think, you look at things like that where, it used to be you have to find certain avenues to get these things done, but really there's just a bunch of tools out there that you can string together if you're creative enough. So it's things like that, things like automated agents that can basically run a workflow autonomously without you ever touching it. Like that stuff's here. That's going to be what's happening in the next couple. So that's what I'm going to be presenting on in Budapest. In Affiliate World, there's I think people need to know, or if they don't, I need to figure out how to implement it, because agents might be the biggest if we're going on the negative side, the biggest destructor of kind of job creation in recent memory. I mean, stuff works really well, so it's hard to see how it's not going to be taking over jobs.
Are you going to be at the Affiliate Summit in New York? I know you're located there. Do you stop by that show as well, or no?
I like it. I'm pretty new to the affiliate scene, to be honest. So
Yeah.
once I got my kind of my entryway into it with Affiliate World in Europe last year, kind of been like trying to make my rounds now, because just everyone's working on something super creative, right? And everyone's a hustler. Everyone's been making money on the internet in some way, shape, or form for, it seems like, their entire life. But it's interesting, man, because I'm just like, every time I talk to someone in the affiliate space, it's like, are you going to this show? And it's like the first time I've ever heard of it. So I'm like super new and super green in all this space. I'm just trying to help solve problems for simple things. But when is it? Because I would definitely like to show up.
Yeah, it's at the end of the month.
That's sick.
Times Square. Yeah, check out the site. We'll be there. I think it's 29th and 30th, I believe.
Okay.
But yeah, I think you solved a lot of people's future problems today. Rory, thanks for coming on the Affiliate Marketing Show. We appreciate it. For myself, Josh from OfferVault, Mr. Paper Call, Adam Young, the industry legend, Harrison Gevirtz, as well as our special guest, Rory Flynn, founder of Systematic.ai. And a big shout out to our sponsors, Click Dealer. Let's make that paper. Let's make that dough. This was the Affiliate Marketing Show. We will see you next time.